And another great day in this greatest nation on God's green earth, a great nation that is still sustaining a debate that is going on, and a debate that has to do with national welfare very directly. Jessica Grose writes about that. It's a pleasure to welcome her back to the show. She is an opinion writer for the New York Times who covers family, religion, education, public health, and culture. And she is also the author of Screaming on the Inside: The Unsustainability of American Motherhood, and two novels in addition. Jessica, thank you very much. It's a pleasure having you back on the show, but it's not a pleasure to be coming back to this topic. What is the story with the Trump administration, which never ran on this basis during the campaign, actually trying to make war, it appears, under the leadership of the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert Kennedy, to make war on vaccines, which have been such a profound success in terms of public health for the United States and the world?
Well, I can't know for sure what, our president is thinking. My guess would be that he just is not very clued into scientific studies or how these things work, and the changes that have been made at the recent vaccine committee called ACIP, which will no longer recommend the hepatitis B vaccine for newborns. This is not a science-based decision. This is a whim-based decision, and I would guess that our president neither has not read any studies about this issue, is not clued in, and he probably thinks, and again, this is speculation, well, it's still available. We're not banning the vaccine. Some people can still get it. And I would guess that he is not really in the weeds on the details or thinking deeply about the sort of chilling effect that anti-vaccine rhetoric and incorrect information has on the average parent who's trying to make this decision for their children.
Okay, is there been any scientific basis at all for trying to cut back or to retreat on the hepatitis B vaccines that newborns typically have gotten?
No, I mean, the premise for this decision is that the shot itself has an outsized risk. It is very safe. Certainly, there are bad reactions that children could potentially have to a shot, but those are exceedingly rare. They have always been exceedingly rare. There is not new information or new studies on the hepatitis B vaccine. This is not based in any science. The decision was made, and there's clear indication that it has been tremendously helpful in reducing incidence of hepatitis B. So hepatitis B, it may be sexually transmitted or intravenously transmitted. But it also can be contracted through household contamination. So if someone else in your house has it, you can get it through household objects, right? So inoculating all newborns, regardless of their maternal status, keeps the most children safe as possible, which really should be the goal. That's the goal of vaccinating children. So this decision was made by a panel of non-experts mostly. There's a couple people on ACIP who are still reasonable people that could be called experts, but they are vanishingly few. And, RFK has said himself in an interview this summer that we shouldn't trust experts anymore. And so there's just a complete, you know, to use your words, war on scientific expertise for, I don't know. I couldn't tell you what the purpose is because I can't really tell beyond nihilism.
Well, isn't it remarkable? Right now, there's been so much publicity about the complicated and very sordid situation involving Secretary Kennedy and Olivia Nuzzi, who is a prominent journalist, and her former fiance, who has released information. How could it be that this wouldn't undermine the kind of behavior, the kind of erotic poetry that has been published? Or how is this not impacted and undermined any of the public confidence at all in Robert Kennedy?
I have no idea. I mean, look, I think our all of our information diets are increasingly fragmented. So I don't know if it's a case of, people who are working in the media have obviously heard a lot about this controversy, but lots of people who don't work in the media probably have never heard of any of the people that you just cited. So I think part of it is information silos. I think that people who are proponents of Kennedy are extremely loud on the internet and they are extremely wrong. And they believe in and adore Kennedy to the same extent that Donald Trump's most fervent supporters revere and support him. So I think it is really a small portion of Americans overall, but the Americans who really love Kennedy, he can do no wrong for them. And so even this information is not going to puncture their support. I appeared on a podcast where some of his supporters were on, and I asked them directly, doesn't it bother you that he just released a report that had made up citations? That was it was a Make America Healthy Again child-focused report. I can't remember the exact title of the report, but, it was a big controversy. They literally made up citations in the report. They didn't exist. And his supporters were unruffled about that because they had met him and they believed in him and they believed in his cause, and that was that. And so even something which would have gotten any normal person fired from their jobs, much less, a cabinet secretary who is supposed to be careful and rigorous in the information that he's releasing to the public, didn't bother him. And that's, to me, a much bigger deal from a cabinet secretary than whatever he's doing in his personal life.
In terms of his work as a cabinet secretary,
Yes.
is the war against vaccines the general allergy it appears that Kennedy sustains concerning vaccination policy? Is that the most dangerous thing that he is doing as head of the Health and Human Services Department?
I think it's among the really dangerous things. I mean, the cutting of funding and the dismantling of the CDC is going to have repercussions for decades that we can't even begin to understand. So I think it's sort of all of a piece with the war on science that is just such a depressing self-own. A year ago, our scientific prowess was a bipartisan point of pride. So many scientific discoveries have happened in the United States, and so much of our, biomedical infrastructure was the greatest in the world, and we are taking it apart for what? Again, for nothing, for nihilism. I don't know. I can't tell you.
Jessica Grose, you have helped to give people some of the context and some of the background. Some of her most recent columns are posted at our website at michaelmedved.com. Always appreciate your joining us on the show and your efforts to try to put some of these issues in context in throwing away historic scientific gains that we have achieved and that have made Americans live longer and healthier lives.